mail, certified registered mail, but also post the property, which will essentially be ineffective for the property owner, but it satisfies the requirement for us. And then the question for you folks is, because there's no real threat to life or limb, it's more of an attractive nuisance. It's not, doesn't appear to be an imminent risk of collapse. I would suggest that what we do is board it up to make it safe. I think that's satisfactory to what, the neighbors around would be, satisfied with. So if we send this notice, they do not act within, I'll probably err on the side of caution, give them 20 days, especially since the property owner may be in Delaware or worse. And then the road crew or whomever else from the township, or you can hire an independent contractor to simply go on the property and secure it, to make it safe, to make it such that, animals can't get inside, kids, wouldn't be attracted to it. They call it an attractive nuisance. So, again, there's conflict between the two codes as to whether this is a function that's authorized by the code enforcement officer. And in other places it says the township board of supervisors has to do it. But I guess we'll cover it both ways.
Yeah, just one document.
It says where there's a conflict between the two, the one that's more rigid, where it has the more strict interpretation is the one that you enforce. But that doesn't really help us with regard to does the code officer do it or does the supervisor? So John, with whom I've been in touch with on this, is the only project I've worked on with him from a codes perspective, and I've talked to him a couple times. He's of a mind that we should go in that direction, and again, if you guys, I don't even think it has to be a motion, maybe it probably should be in the minutes that you authorize me to send that letter. And I'm prepared to do it tomorrow or the next day. It'll go out quickly, 20 days will elapse, and then, again, I don't know, John, this is not something we do regularly, and in the spirit of transparency and having you folks be involved, maybe we'll let the 20 days lapse. My expectation is they're not going to come up here to fix the problem. Maybe at either the next special meeting or first public meeting you have after the 20 days passes, authorize John to board up the place.
Just an interjection here, but if there's a conflict there between BOS and zoning officer, maybe if the BOS instructs the zoning officer to do it, you kind of belt and suspenders, and you kind of covered.
It'll be a little like that.
Okay.
And me too, because I think I'll send the letter. The letters heretofore sent by John, have not been met with any favorable response, maybe coming from me. Of course, if the owner's deceased, I don't think we get a good response anyway.
You get a response.
But there's usually somebody involved, and the property's in Montgomery County, so I can go to county records tomorrow and look to see where the tax bills go. It's one good way to determine who's in charge and whether the taxes have been paid, etc. So we'll do a little bit of that digging and get that done in a day or two.
With all the
We
effort,
can't board it up until then, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
with all the effort you're putting into it, do you lien the property?
Yes.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, any costs associated with the process from my time to John's time to any actual costs for materials, labor expense, it can all be itemized and put forth in a lien, and then we would lien the property. Good point.
But the ideal outcome would be that the trailer would be removed, is that the?
That is the first step. Again, it's a single floor building. Again, it's not likely to collapse. It doesn't look like, it looks like boarding it up, keep people out, and make it less attractive for somebody to take up residence there or throw a party.
Right.
And again, I've been in touch with Mr. Petosa, any other neighbor. I have to, work for these folks, but I'm happy to have your input. And it sounded like boarding it up is good for now. Let's see what happens. Sometimes these problems solve themselves over time. Whoever owns that property will eventually get tired of paying taxes on the property and may put it up for sale or offer back to township or let it go to tax sale. And at that point, you could remove the structure.
I did have a conversation with John about this structure, and he said if it was boarded up, at that point, there really isn't a code violation until a roof would collapse or some type of a structural issue would happen. It would shift on its foundation or something. But he said once it's boarded up, it really, it's certainly an eyesore, but it's not a safety issue at that point.
Do we know when this gentleman passed away? Because
So
I
I'm
know
not
it's,
sure.
I do not.
so when I go ahead, Mike.
I can't validate this, but I do believe the owner has passed away. And the letter that was sent to Delaware, I believe, is his sister.
Okay.
And there's an obituary filed, but it's up in New York with her name and address, and she is also deceased. So it's not 100%, but it's something to look into.
So when I talked to someone in 21, it was a gentleman right behind there.
Yeah,
He had told me all this back in 21.
okay.
That's why I'm surprised we're still sitting here with it. In this position, like I would have just figured they would have lost it to back taxes or something like that. Do we know if they're current?
Presumably someone's paying the tax. I can
Okay.
determine whether they're current with the tax. Whoever's paying the tax bill is, you know, probably an heir or an executor of one of their estates or administrator.
Hold on, did I go one?
Lady in the back has a question.
The
Miss
original
Garlish?
owner died over 40 years ago.
What is that person's name? Is it-
I can picture him as plain as day, but I don't know his name. But I mean, I remember going there trick or treating as a child. You know, but I know I was probably about 16, 17 years old because I was working EMS at the time and went there for him. So he's been gone that long.
Wow.
Has it been abandoned that long?
Yes.
Okay. Look, this is news to me.
I sort of
Is
Yeah.
Richard Connor the person's name? Is
The
that
title
right?
now is Connor, if you go on property records.
Okay.
And there's two Connors, there's his wife Carolyn, and there's Mr. Connor. Mr. Connors, I believe, is passed. I think she has too. And then this other woman who's listed on the property records as the go-to person, I think she's also passed away also. So whether the tax records show it or not, I don't know.
Well, if you guys could you send this information to Miss Kate? Can you give it to Ken?
Yeah.
And then we'll go ahead and travel down this road, just for the sake of keeping the meeting moving.
I can't speak for 40 years. I can't even really speak for the last 2 years, but I can tell you for now, you know, this is the type of case that, you know, I'd like, although the letter will go out tomorrow, you know, don't expect, you know, this problem to be solved, you know, when you have a situation like this happens.
These guys bring a picture.
But we'll get to the bottom, we'll get to the
Well, and if it's on this report that you're providing each month, we can follow up on it, make sure that we're doing the appropriate
I have a
steps
question.
to drive to completion.
Sorry. Is the
What's your name?
person,
You gotta state your name.
Tom Bitzler, Big Road, the person, the building and zoning person that we've talked about hasn't been doing their job for several weeks, are they supposed to be following up with this, or are we?
That's this report here. I did put a call.
I
into-
just, maybe I'm missing something, but
Yeah, but I'm gonna address that problem.
okay, I was just wondering, because I feel like they, they should be
Yeah.
following up with it, right?
Well,
Sort
John
of,
has
yeah, they
followed,
are.
he's sort of running.
Okay, well, we had discussed maybe they need an office here, we couldn't get a hold of them on the phone several weeks, so I don't mean to, say something bad about it, but there was several meetings where we didn't know how to even get a hold of them, so that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
You know,
we'll cross
I don't
that
have any
bridge
trouble
here
getting hold
shortly.
of him.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to-
Send him this on the phone every day.
I was just wondering if that's his responsibility or something.
Yeah.
But maybe not, I don't know.
Norm, can you just send me a copy of that, whatever you have there, or just give it to Miss Kate and I'll have a copy, please?
Sure.
And just like John knows that I did mention I was trying to get a hold of him.
Okay.
Please.
Yep.
All right, zoning, building inspector, zoning hearing board.
Hold on, did you want, I have a couple questions.
Okay. I'm
First,
sorry.
did you want us to make a motion?
Yes. So authorize me to proceed in that manner. Notify the property owner, post the property, and instruct to rectify the violations within 20 days or have the police board.
Okay,
Can you make
right?
That's just the motion, you
I
just
was
have to say,
I know, it was a
so
lot.
moved.
So moved.
So I have a second. Come on, Sean. Second. All those in favor?
Aye. I was hoping I didn't have to remember all of that.
Right, so but there was nothing with the zoning hearing board, right? I thought I got a letter from the Rothschild.
So, yeah, he had, But did we want
12
to cover?
permits were processed, 8 inspections, and the ongoing zoning issues.
Yeah, so, well, we only covered 17 and 16, there was also,
We don't.
okay. Do we need to touch base on any, does anybody else need status on a property complaint? There's a couple properties listed in this document. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we didn't get it, that's why I said I was gonna have an email to us.
The old inn, down at the end of
It's, I think, is that on there too, the old inn?
Yes.
1847 Perkiomenville.
Yes, yeah, so it's on there as well, but we didn't get
Yep.
it until too bad, I tried to get it, so, but, yeah, we'll hit that next.
When you say next, what do you mean?
Next meeting, next,
There's not too much.
There's no updates on the inn?
Yeah, we're looking to see what we can do with it, since she keeps leaving the property.
Okay.
That's something, we want to stone, or 1847 Perkiomenville Road.
Yes, last it was left, it's now, you know, on my radar, but John and Kate were gonna do some digging on their own before they
Right.
involved me.
We're gathering information, so.
planning commission? Come on, Jared, whip something out here.
Meeting at the end of the month, I believe we have one coming up, Kate. Is there
Uh,
anything on it?
yeah, there's one scheduled for the 28th.
February
Yeah,
was
yeah,
canceled.
that's, yeah, 28.
There was.
Yeah, February was
The one for
canceled.
this month was canceled?
February was
Last
canceled.
February was
Right.
canceled.
Okay. Central Perkiomen Valley Regional Planning Commission?
We have that meeting next Monday, the 18th, Collegeville Borough,
What's that date? That's the 18th, you said?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
7. 7 o'clock.
Oh, 7 PM. Parks and Rec? Mr. Murray?
We're working on plans for the Swamp Creek Stomp. It's a 5K trail run. It'll be Saturday, May 11th. We're looking for volunteers to help with that event. We're also looking for volunteers for some trail maintenance for that event prior to the event. And we're also working on a few more items for the playground out here. So hopefully we can get that wrapped up soon.
Okay.
Do you know when that will be? Like, is there a roundabout time?
I don't right now. We're working with Fall Zones on 2 more items that are part of our grant. And I'm gonna be meeting with Steve Heller, our roads guy, this week.
I was just, my wife's booked it for our kid's birthday, so we were just wondering, but
Yeah,
if it's not done, it's not done.
the
It'll
new
be
part
good.
probably won't be done by then.
Okay.
Depending on when that is.
No
but
worries, thank you.
You're welcome.
What time's the stomp, Kevin, usually?
It usually starts at 8 a.m.
Thank you.
What was the question, Jared?
What time the stomp starts?
Oh, okay. Parks and Rec. Okay, new business. So we had a traffic study, a request sent in to us to lower the speed limit on gravel Pike. The township must request a PennDOT, for PennDOT to complete the traffic study. So we're looking for permission to request this, Ms. Kate is. So in talking to a couple of residents, they want to take the speed limit down from 50 to 35, from Perkiomen, which is deep, down at Deep Creek, I think it is, all the way up to Kratz Road. And I've heard several, people ask for it, so, and I think we got an email on it too, right?
I've received the request.
Yeah.
So I reviewed the request, I just want to jump in here, and Norm will
Sure.
probably correct me on this, but it's a state road, so you have to make the request to PennDOT. PennDOT will do a study. In reading this, apparently the speed limit used to be 55, it was lowered to 40 and then put back to 45. Just making the request is kind of a double-edged sword. If the traffic study comes back that speed should be lowered, hooray. But it frequently comes back, probably far more often it comes back that people travel that road much faster than 45 or 55, and it's conceivable that the end result could be that the speed limit will go up. So you have to be careful in making that request. Norm, is that?
You're correct.
I just want to put it out there just so the world doesn't think you make a request and then you get a speed limit sign.
That
Doesn't work like that. And it takes,
That actually has happened one time. It had been lowered to 45,
and now it's back to
and they
50.
made it, they somehow, Lower Frederick made a request for a study and was raised to 50. Given the way people travel, we live on that road, given the way people travel on that road, the intersection of Pratt's and Salford Station and 29 has become very dangerous. I know that's not the business right now for this meeting, but we think if we get a request to the state, we're gonna follow up with PennDOT. If we get the request to PennDOT, we'll follow up.
And they'll issue a report with their recommendations
Yeah.
and so forth, yeah.
But I assume there's an appeal process if it comes back at some high, well, I doubt it would come back higher, it'd be hard to believe that, but whatever.
I don't know how it works, all I can tell you is.
You don't know if it's an
frequently
appeal
they
process
come
for
back
that?
That speed limit will not be lowered, and it could even be raised.
We intend to keep it going, there's a person,
Okay.
Lower Frederick, that does too, but all we're really requesting is that the board, in behalf of the township, ask for a traffic study be made. My understanding is that Lower Frederick Board met last Wednesday, and they have made the request on their behalf, but since it's a
Okay.
road that traverses both townships, it really has to be a joint request.
Right. Were you guys aware of that? Because when there are joint requests, that's something, it's part of what we do, our regional plan, regional, whatever.
Maybe not, I'm sorry, maybe not a joint request, but separate requests,
Well,
each
separate
township.
requests, but both,
Yes, right, sorry.
being in alignment, you might even reference, we, in the cover letter, whatever. Lower Frederick has made a request and, we're adding ours, kind of.
We've lived,
Jumping on board, I had a young lady call up and ask me about it. They hung the box out there, she asked me what it was, I reached out to Miss Kate, and then in talking to some other folks in township, they did, actually a guy knocked on his door, and he actually lived in Lower Frederick, and he was one of the people that called and actually requested Lower Fred to do it. So I know there's a small pocket of people right there that are all concerned about it. And I did express what you said about, be careful what you wish for, because I did read up on it, Title 75, and it's like, you'd be out of the frying pan straight into the fire, so it is something.
we made that request, and we live on that corner of Kratz and 29, and we've been there since 1975, when the only traffic was on Monday morning going up to the Purvey sale. Now we have excessive traffic, people going up to the turnpikes in two different directions. And the way our driveway is, people cut that corner, and it's almost taking your life in your hands to go out to your mailbox. We're talking about where to move the mailbox or how to arrange it so we can feel safe. I'm worried every time I pull out there because there's a short distance between the road and where I pull out of my driveway. And I'm under no illusion that magically people will drive slower. But if there is a higher speed limit, people go more than the speed limit. When the speed limit was lower, decades ago, when we had small children, people didn't drive as fast. They drove faster, but not as fast. We've had some accidents out there. We've had some people who have speeded and been speeding and come right over our stone wall and gotten their car caught. We've had a guy on a motorcycle who pulled out from the other side of Kratz Road and got hit by a car and had to get helicoptered out of the area. So there are a lot of cars out there, especially at certain times of the day. And so no matter what, it's an accident waiting to happen. And so I think we have to take it seriously for that, because all the houses right in that area are old houses like ours, and they're right up next to the road. So that is part of our concern. We're asking the township to help keep everybody safe. And the people coming around that south on 29 who are zipping around the curve on our corner on Kratz, they could easily get out of control and have an accident. So I don't want to be an accident of somebody just going to my mailbox and somebody's anxious to get home and I get hit. So
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I'm thinking of safety first.
Yes, ma'am. That's our job as supervisors, to make sure everybody here's safe.
Well, as I said, we've lived in that house since 1975, so we have a long history with how people travel on that road. And we are particularly careful in that area. And we tell anyone who comes to visit us to be cautious of how they turn into our driveway and other areas, including the UPS man. Including the post office guy and the UPS man, so, because we've seen a lot of close calls.
If you're gonna send a letter, I suggest you have a motion.
So do I have a motion to authorize Ms. Kate to send a request?
I'll make a motion to send a letter to PennDOT regarding a traffic study be performed between Perkiomenville Road and Salford Station Road on 29, on Gravel Pike.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. ARPA funds to the road project. Treasurer stated prevailing wage will probably apply to this project. Was this confirmed? It will need to be added to the bid package. We will also need to complete a budget amendment, motion to reallocate ARPA funds. Did we ever confirm this?
So yes, the road, it will be a requirement and it is in their bid packages anyway, so that's kind of.
Oh, it's already.
Point. Yeah, I found that out after I sent you that information. One thing is when you wanted to reallocate those funds, there was no motion made, so we need a motion
So
to
we need to do
reallocate those funds.
Okay.
In the future, in maybe next month or the month after, we'll have to do a budget amendment, but there's a time frame between the budget and making amendments that we have to check on first. So right now, we just need the motion to reallocate the funds.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to reallocate the ARPA funds to the roads project?
I'll make a motion to reallocate the ARPA funds to the roads project.
Well,
Do I need to say specifically Faust Road?
no.
No, just to the roads project.
Do I have a second? I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, these ARPA funds, where were these originally
It's the
going?
COVID funds were going to the schoolhouse, and then we were on a tight timeline to get them. The ARPA funds are on a tight timeline. They have to be under contract before the end of '24. So we moved them to the roads because we knew we would spend them, and we knew that we had the proper contracting to get it, to use the funds timely, without putting them at risk of losing them.
Would you like to hear any public comment on use of these funds? Does anybody have any comments on it? Okay. All right, public comment.
What was that? Did someone say something? I just don't want to skip somebody. No? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
No, that's it. If somebody wants to talk about it. Okay.
Okay. But I think the question was back then was, we weren't sure, when we were speaking with Ms. Tackett. She was under the impression we couldn't use those funds for that. I was under the impression we could, and further investigation, we were allowed to. So this was just a way for us to alleviate the pressure of, we gotta hurry up and do this, or hurry up and do this. It gave us the ability to sit back, pump our brakes on a project outside, and reallocate these funds and still be able to use them without losing them.
So just for clarification, on the vote, I didn't hear Sean's vote.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
but for the minutes, I think it was 2 ayes.
Aye.
Okay.
Old business, solicitor interviews, we have,
I scheduled 3 of them, beginning at 6 PM on March 20th. I believe it was the High Schwartz, Clemens, and Yurden.
okay, you're gonna send us an email, let us know which ones are which timeframe.
How did this end up on Wednesday instead of Saturday?
Not everyone could do Saturday. I believe